It was a hot summer day in June 1963 on the platform of Chennai Central Station. On this day, Mr. B.V. Reddy was spinning with enthusiasm and ideas, and as Swamiji jumped onto a train for Bombay, Mr. Reddy shouted, "Swamiji, why don't you go overseas?" Swamiji replied before disappearing into his compartment, "Go on, arrange it." And over the next 2 years, Mr. Reddy sent close to 19,000 letters and receiving as many replies. He meticulously arranged every detail of Swamiji's first global tour, which covered 39 cities in 18 countries. It is no wonder that Swamiji, in an article in Tapovan Prasad in 1965, called B.V. Reddy a true Karma Yogi Veera. Before the trip, Swamiji would visit the Samadhi Mandir of Swami Shivananda in Ananda Kutir to take the blessings of his Diksha Guru, who 20 years ago had instilled in him the idea of taking the message of Vedanta beyond the borders of India. On March 5th, a massive public event was held in Oval Maidan, Bombay, to bid farewell to Swamiji. 30,000 devotees attended, and many drew a parallel with this event and the farewell that Swami Vivekananda had received in 1893 when he had left for America to attend the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago. Swamiji had every intention of awakening people around the world, but his purpose for the first tour was to observe their societies and ways, particularly the American culture and the Indian community there. At one point, he even stood inconspicuously at the back of a bar watching the typical American scene. When he spoke at every city, he introduced the basic ideas of Vedanta. He focused on the logic of spirituality. In a letter to Anjali Singh from New York, he reveals how a true jnani operates by separating the effects of physical matter from a flawless underlying spirit. "I am smothered with work here. Do you hear my groaning pains under the pleasure of the heavy load of loving work? My flesh weeps in agony when my heart dances in joy. I have such a bad cold, a bad throat, a bad stomach, bad everything except my heart, head, and character." At the end of the tour, he said this about America: "Here, Christianity has miserably and totally failed to inspire the youth. There are people here to explain all kinds of religions, but for the true one, Vedanta, there is none to explain, none to advocate. What a sad state. Without Vedanta, the American growing generation is not going to be benefited." As a result of this tour, a core group of Westerners became devout followers of Swamiji. They included the Brownings, Rudit Emir, Louis Yarugi, and many more. This group would play a key role in organizing Swamiji's yajnas in the West. From 1965 to 73, Swamiji made several trips to the West and focused on the jnana yajnas and study groups. Only later did he branch into the study of the main scriptural texts. In the early 1970s, Swamiji voiced his concern for Indian children growing up in Western culture. I am not worried about the adults here who grew up in India, because they will know where to find the answers for their problems in the scriptures. But I am worried about these young ones who will be lost in the dual culture. Why don't you start a Balavihar? He would ask Sharada Kumar, who is now the Acharya of Chinmaya Mission, Ann Arbor. Swamiji would have her go to India to get trained. And today, Balvihar is an outstanding success in the States. Over 250,000 children are enrolled in Balvihars in the US, with over 100,000 having graduated since. Swami Chinmayananda wanted to build an ashram in the foothills of the Himalayas to benefit the local hill folk through the study of Vedanta, as well as by starting various cottage industries for economic upliftment. With the help of General Narendra Singh, they drove to various sites and finally reached a large open plateau. "There, that's where I want the ashram," he said, pointing towards Siddhabari. The land was then acquired. When construction began, the engineers found that the land was completely inappropriate, even impossible to build on. Since it was on a hillock overlooking a vast open plain, strong hurricane-like winds could lift away entire buildings. The contractors told Swamiji about the impossibility of the project. Swamiji went into deep meditation at the site, and when he opened his eyes, he said, "We will have an ashram here, but first let us bring Lord Hanuman. When the father sees his son, Vayu Bhagavan will calm down." And so it happened exactly as predicted. Once the 40-foot Hanuman idol was installed, the winds stopped. Throughout the construction, Swamiji would spend many hours guiding and watching every detail. There was the joy of creativity in him as he planned every aspect of the construction. And yet, he never micromanaged the project. Let us take a look at some wonderful examples of this. In 1979, an 8-acre plot of land was purchased in Northern California at Piercy. It was named as Krishnalaya. On this land, Chinmaya Mission West was officially inaugurated by Gurudev. His Guru Dakshina was the main source of income for Chinmaya Mission West. Uma Jayarasa Singham, the treasurer then, remembers asking Swamiji for funds. And this is what he said: "Are you running low on funds? Are you not receiving contributions from devotees? Examine yourself again and look for what you may have done to displease the Lord. You must carry out the Lord's work without ego or egocentric desires. And above all, treat the Lord's devotees with great respect, love, and kindness. That will please Him more than any offering you can give Him. And when He is pleased, He will smile at you, and Lakshmi will rain wealth on you through your roof," he said. Gurudev also advised that the mission should never have surplus funds, as there would then be no incentive to perform and serve society. Speaking of society, Swamiji had another unfinished task at hand. For many millennia, the women of the Himalayas have served the rishis. I too have taken all my teachings in the Himalayas. He wanted to give back by starting a rural healthcare and development program that would benefit all rural folk in the area, especially women. There were many seemingly insurmountable obstacles, including government officials who insisted on bribes. Swamiji fought through them all and triumphed. Dr. Shama Maitre was a key aid for Swamiji in this. The first center was opened in 1985. The idea was ingenious: to provide healthcare in rural areas, hire rural women and train them as healthcare workers and eventually as nurses. Due to social stigmas, only a handful of women even applied. But Swamiji had his ways. In 2 years, there were 2,500 applicants, and Swamiji had to come up with so many ways to screen, interview, and hire only the best. Numerous projects began to spring up. Sewing programs, Mahila Mandals, farmers' clubs, literary assistance, social justice assistance, natural resource management, and many more. In 2003, these initiatives would be grouped under the name CORD, or Chinmaya Organization for Rural Development. Swami Chinmayananda was the inspiration behind CORD. Swami Tejomayananda took over where his guru had left off. The program was so dear to his heart that it experienced phenomenal growth under his leadership, simply because he followed the core principle laid out by his guru, which was this: to give love is freedom, to demand love is slavery. Some of us love only if we are loved in return, like a commercial transaction. Very few are rich in love. How can they love when they have none in themselves? Service of others is the expression of love in one's heart. The day you take up the policy of giving love instead of demanding it, that day you will have rewritten your entire future destiny.
Hari Om Namaskar. We are sure you liked the video. For more such amazing videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel and do not forget to press the bell icon.